Recording. Would you like to kick off with any comments on the game before we go to questions?
Oh man, it was just a grinded out type win. Obviously our defense was horrendous in the first half, and then it was very, very good in the second half. And that was the difference of the game.
All right, we'll go Andy and then Michelle. Michael, sorry, Mike.
Hey Becky, you talk about the defense obviously, but you guys, I think we're down 6 in rebounding margin at halftime, end up winning the rebounding battle. What changed for you guys in that part of the game?
They decided that they wanted to do the game plan. That was it. At halftime, if I have to scream harder than we're playing, it's a problem. So, and they just locked in. I mean, like I told them after the game, I'm like, are y'all messing with me? Like, are you playing a joke? Like, this is funny. Like, because the two different teams, it's just a glaring difference when we play defense. And, you know, to their credit, they locked in. And I think when this team is playing for their playoff life, like every game down the stretch is going to be hard. And I think we have to understand that and come with the approach of, we miss, we don't know. I mean, Plum's 0 for 5 in the first half and then is 5 for 7 in the second. I mean, you always believe that the shooting woes will turn, but the defense has to be there from the jump. And so hopefully we're starting to learn at this point that has to be a separation factor for us. It shouldn't feel good when teams are coming, you come into halftime and they're shooting 50 from here and 45 from here, or 50 from 55 and 55, whatever it might be, on really things that were breakdowns. And so, we sewed it up. Obviously, I ran people longer than I wanted to tonight, but I just went with the lineup that I felt was working.
Gotcha. I know transition offense is always a huge part of your game plan, but it seemed like Chicago really had a hard time keeping up, especially in that fourth quarter. I guess, what does that say about the fitness of your team that you guys can really just step on the gas late in the game like that?
I mean, you see it and you see like moments of it, but this is one of the hardest working, most professional teams. And I don't think it's talked about enough. Our offense gets talked about, this and that, but like their fitness and how they take care of their bodies, they're pros 360 days a year. They're not girls that go out crazy. Like they are pros. And so they know exactly what it takes for their bodies to be able to perform at a high level night in, night out. And it's not me, that's them. That's who they are.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mike, you're up next.
Yeah. Coach, I think from your perspective as a point guard, what Chelsea's able to do both in directing the offense and then calling her own number. Can you just talk about how impressive that is? It just seems like she does not make bad decisions for the most part. And that doesn't seem to matter like how tight the game is or how big the stakes are. She's able to do that.
Well, her head is her greatest asset. How she reads and how she dissects. Like I said, she's got a doctorate in pick and roll and reading defenses. But it's always going to be a fine line for her. Is when you're so capable as a scorer, but yet your job is to get everybody else the ball. At times, walking that line can be blurred. And it's not, I mean, we talk about time and score and just the effect of, if we get a bad one on the possession before, like let's get into something good and get a good one the next time. But we got to be able to recognize those moments. And she's the best one out there, recognizing what needs to be done and who needs to have the ball when, including when she needs to get herself involved. So she's studied, she's prepared all the time. And honestly, a lot of times you just let her roll.
Thank you.
Danny.
Becky, you mentioned about what you had to say to them at halftime. I don't want to really focus on that, but come out with the first 5 points, seemed like a little bit of momentum going, then they score 6 straight and go up 56-42, and then you call that timeout. What kind of happened in that discussion, in that huddle, that kind of clicked from that point on to the rest of the game?
I mean, they all know I hate using my timeouts to stop momentum. I like to save my timeouts in case I need them down the stretch. But again, the discrepancy, no team is going to go away, right? And I think sometimes it's just about getting settled, understanding that we're not going to get, I got no 13-point plays or 10-point plays. What we got is a moment by moment, buckle in type of attitude. And I really just wanted to get us into something a little bit more movement oriented, not necessarily like just pick and roll. But coming out, getting stops and being able to run, like securing the basketball and running. That's really when we can have that separation factor. But we had a couple turnovers, missed shots, quick shots. And so it's just kind of being, not saying much, I'll actually just settling them down and settling in a little bit and getting back to what was working in the first, minute and a half where they had to call a timeout. You got to just always go back to the basics and decide if you're going to do it together. And they came together and decided they were going to do it together.
Thank you.
Thanks, and looks like we'll close it out with Matthew.
Becky, it looked like in the fourth quarter, Chicago was switching pretty consistently between man and zone, and you called the one timeout to make an adjustment there. And I just want to know how you felt like your team did adjusting possession by possession when, whether they were figuring out whether they were in man or zone and getting in the offense that you wanted in the situations based off of the defense Chicago threw at you.
I think the most important thing that we preach, whether it's man or zone, is just stay in attack mode, hit seams. We want our bigs flashing into that middle area. We want the ball swung side to side. It's really not okay. We have some stuff that will run, and we have some plays that honestly work against offense, a zone or a man. So we'll get into those sets, but at the end of the day, it's about still just making basketball reads, get the ball pop in and get downhill and stay in attack mode. I think the biggest thing that zone does, or junk defenses, is it gets everybody to stop and pause and think. And in those moments, I want a little bit less thinking. I want the ball popping and still staying in attack mode, finding seams. And no matter what we run, we're so spaced, whether that's offense designed for a zone or offense designed for a man, the spacing is so wide a lot of times that it just gives people great opportunities to slash that middle area. And a lot of times, I'm yelling at them down there, flash, flash, flash. It doesn't have anything to do with the play. It's just open in a certain area. And sure enough, they flash in there and they'll get the ball and do something good. But the biggest thing is, the space and staying aggressive and putting even rim pressure on with bodies, not necessarily always penetration from the ball.
All right, thank you very much.